everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Gameable Audio. I am your host, Josef Falkensköld, and this is episode 56. And today, I have a very special guest who is named Josef Falkensköld. Hello, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Christopher.
How are you doing today? This is very early in the morning, but we're both Swedes, and we're both up and working in the morning already.
Oh, you think it's early in the morning? Dude, it's 9:30. I have kids. I have 3 kids.
That is true. Comparing to that, it's not that early. Would you say it's like midday already then?
Probably, something like that. Yeah, I've been up for a while. It's all good.
It is so much fun to have you here on the podcast. We've been discussing a little bit back and forth, and you were actually one that was recommended by a guest that was on the podcast not so long ago, Per Fransson.
Yeah, Per. Bless his soul.
Bless his soul. He's not dead. He's very much alive, maybe a little bit corrupted by the Cthulhu gods. We don't know.
Possibly.
Most possibly. No, but it's so much fun. First and foremost, I just want to say that I've been listening to a lot of your music before I got the possibility to talk to you. And of course, as I got the possibility to talk to you and we started making this episode, I've listened to so much more of your music. Yeah. Because as always, when I'm doing my picks for an episode, I just need to listen to as much as possible. So ever since we started planning the episode, I've been like listening almost nonstop with some bits and pieces where I needed to make the previous episode.
Yeah, I could gather from our pre-talks that you were digging pretty deeply.
It is so much fun
to my
to do that.
To my fear and excitement.
How did you feel when you started noticing that, hey, this guy is doing more research than maybe he should?
Well, there's this expression in Swedish, skräckblandad förtjusning, which is terror mixed excitement or something like that. So something like that, because I cringe so incredibly hard when I go back into my library into like 2010 and 11, 12, like back then. I mean...
What is the most cringe to you? Is it the work with the tracks themselves, or is it more lyrical work? Because you do a lot of lyrical work with your music.
It could be both, actually. So I'm very keen on like optimizing the quality of the sound, the productions, the mixes, and from that standpoint, I've come such a long way in 15 years. And but also from a lyrical standpoint, because my lyrics were mostly focused around the game in many regards, and had like many references to actual in-game events, which to innocent bystander, someone that doesn't know anything about the game, doesn't really understand. It's very hard to understand that. It's like cutting with the blade or referencing like abilities from a character, stuff like that. Yeah, that can feel very cringe. Like these days, I'm trying to be more like, when I write, I want it to be more relatable on a human level.
Okay, that sounds interesting, and we're definitely gonna dig way deeper on this one as well as we move along in this episode. But before we start going into tracks and so on, I want to hear a little bit more like your origin story. Like when did you start, and how did you get started with music first and foremost?
Okay, so let's do the short version here, because I'm pretty old now. So I was 7 years old. My mother convinced me that I should take piano lessons, so I did. And I like classical piano for 7 years. And by then I'd also gotten into a music school.
Okay.
That was, what's it called? Högstadiet in English. I think it's like...
I think middle school or something like that, similarly, because gymnasium level in Sweden would be high school in US terms.
Right. So middle school, I got into a music school. So I was still taking piano lessons, and I had like music theory and ensemble and instrument practice several days a week. So I got kind of sick of it, because it was just like learning what others had made and cramming theory. So that got boring to me. And this passion that I had for games was like also building in a big way, because at that point, like computers were coming into the homes, right?
Yes.
So games were kind of starting to take over as an interest for me, and music was becoming more and more inconvenient and like boring to me.
Considering video games in this point, was it more consoles in this, or were you a PC gamer at this point in time, due to the fact that PCs started to get into the homes?
I would say that I was a PC gamer at that point, but like my first game, like genuine game passion and experience that came from home was the Sega Master System.
Oh,
that I got, but this was like even earlier. So all my friends had the Nintendo, as people in Sweden had, kids in Sweden had, but I had the Master System, and I loved it. Like I played the shit out of that console. But when computers started to come into the homes, like that really, like that ignited a different level of interest for me, because I just realized that, oh shit, you could do so much with a computer. Like you can play all these games, and there's such a huge library of games, but you can also do them yourselves. Like I started to program simple games in QBasic and things like that. And not soon after, there was this program called Click and Play that was just incredible to me, because you could like basically point and click, drag and drop, and make some simple games. And you had like an event sheet where you can just select a bunch of conditions and then tell the game or the engine what should happen. I was so hooked on that and made a lot of games with my childhood friend. And we had a lot of fun with that. And overall, like the interest and passion for games, making them, thinking about them, playing them, had like really started to grow into something very big at that point.
And I'm guessing you became very passionate about this as well, because you were already playing with them first and foremost, and enjoying the games from that perspective. And then you got to know that, I can actually make them myself. And together with this drag and drop tool, I guess it became quite easy as well to make these games. And that kind of grew even more due to that, instead of working with QBasic, for example.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it made me think a lot about like how games worked. And so I've always had that interest, and I think that's why it comes so natural to me to get into game development too, where I have been involved not just in composing and sound design, but also level design and game design and stuff like that. But we can come to that later. So my music career, I went on a tangent. So anyway, so after middle school, I didn't feel like pursuing music. I wanted to do something normal. So when I went into high school, I just kind of put that on the shelf. But it wasn't short after that another childhood friend and me, we started to record our first songs. And I had a neighbor who had a home studio. Like it was very rudimentary at this time. We're talking like 95, 96, around there. And I started to make my first very simple recordings at home, closer to 2000. Because this was also the time when that started to become possible. Like that wasn't really viable to do on a normal computer previously, but all these options just opened up. So I got like a little drum machine from my neighbor, and I got an electric guitar. I just plugged it directly into the computer, and it sounded awful. But like these amp simulators back in the day, it sounded absolute dog shit. But it was fun, and it really got me like passionate about creating, because I realized, I could create. I could not just play things that others have written. I could do something.
You can play around and be original for once.
Yes. So during high school, really like got me interested in music again.
Mm-hmm.
So after high school, I took some courses. I didn't really know what to do with my life, but a couple of years later, I got into music production program at Växjö University.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved there. Like I'm born and raised in Umeå, so it was a long move, but I felt like I should definitely try this and see where it's going. So I did that.
I guess it was a little bit scary as well, but you were still excited to get into this education and continue your own kind of path in life.
Yeah, for sure. But at that point, I didn't really consider that music and games could be combined into one cohesive career.
Mm-hmm.
But that became more and more evident to me as I went through this education.
Yeah.
So at the end of it, I was like pretty sure that, this is what I want to do. I want to write music for games.
Oh.
So, but I didn't have any experience except the things that I did myself. I did some very simple games and made music to them, but I was too lazy and I guess interested in music to learn programming.
Mm-hmm.
I had like a basic understanding of logic, but not syntax. It's not really my thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I reached out to a couple of game educations and asked their students if I could make music for their game projects.
Right now, year-wise, we're around 2000, right? About?
No, I've moved up a bit. Now we're around 2006.
2006.
Yeah.
And still, considering in Sweden, it felt like we were quite early with getting game development courses here. But during this point in time, we were kind of limited. I don't know, did universities do a lot of those, or was it like the first one in Skövde, for example? Because I don't exactly know when they kind of started, so it would be interesting to me for like a little bit of a history perspective here.
Okay, so there was one education that had actually was quite pivotal for my career path, and that was Powerhouse in Kramfors.
Yes.
Outside of Sundsvall. I don't think it's active anymore, but I reached out to their prefect or something, and they invited me to do a lecture on game music and sounding games.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of funny because at that point I had made a few projects based on student projects, but I didn't have any live experience with a game that was about or was shipped.
Yeah, no professional experience in that sense.
Yes,
then.
True.
Mm?
So I can't, but I did my best. I did my due diligence. I did a lot of research, and I really tried to think hard about what I wanted to do for games and the audio experience for a player, and talked a lot about, had a lot of references to games that I liked in terms of audio and games that didn't do so well in terms of audio. And obviously I made some kind of impression because jump 3 years in the future, I was back in Umeå. And I was doing, I was unemployed, and I was doing some outreach to kind of find work because I felt that I was at a level where I could, without being ashamed of it, ask to do things professionally. So I did some outreach in local studios and in some studios in Sweden, and one studio there in Umeå, Resolution Interactive, they got back to me, and they had been working on a game called Aqua Motor Racing. They were actually the studio behind Cluster Ball, which was a pretty big deal for the Umeå game scene back in the day. Anyway, So they were working on Aquamotor Racing, and the interesting thing about Aquamotor Racing was that it was a 3D game for the Apple iPhone, like the first iPhone.
Cool.
Yeah. So,
so everybody at home was like, there was a first?
Yeah.
What the hell?
At some point there was a first, yeah. And to me, it doesn't feel like that long ago. This is like barely 15 years ago.
Yeah. It is crazy how everything technical-wise has just exploded.
Yeah. It's nuts. And that was kind of a big deal because Apple was very keen on showcasing games that kind of pushed their hardware. Anyway, they got back to me and like, yeah, could you write some songs for this game? We need some audio as well. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Fun, great. And the premise was so ridiculous. It was like, yeah, we need it in like a week. And we don't really have any money. So I got a very symbolic sum, but it was something, and I had my company registered and everything, so it was a big deal for me anyway. And the game did super well. Like I actually got a royalty deal because they didn't have great cash flow at that time, but the game was a hit. So it was very beneficial for me, and I could like buy a brand new computer and kind of upgrade my rig thanks to that. So that was like a huge step.
That is amazing.
So after that, they wanted to kind of ride that success wave. So they made another game called Dirt Motor Racing, and then they made Snow Motor Racing, and they didn't do as well. And we did some commission work for BBC. We did like some, what's it called? That car show, Gear, something.
Top Gear?
Top Gear, yeah, right.
Yeah.
It was like a Top Gear mobile game of some sort that we did.
Interesting.
Yes, but success didn't last long. The games weren't selling as well, and Resolution closed in 2010, I believe.
Okay.
But it was a great experience for me. It was a great stepping stone, and it was really good to get to know the guys that have been working on Resolution, because they went on, like the employees of Resolution, they went on to form a new company called Level 8.
Oh.
And Level 8 were the creators of Robbery Bob. Robbery Bob was like the lifeblood of Level 8.
Yeah.
And I was working freelance for them for a couple of years. And then I got employed in 2013. And by then I was their audio guy, of course, and did all the sound design, all the music and so on. But I was also their like community manager.
Oh.
So I managed the community and outreach, but also like content creation, and try to get their socials to work, because they hadn't really put any attention on that.
Okay.
And during the years I was there was another community manager that took over after a while, when I needed to focus more on the music and audio side as we grew.
Yeah.
But we really made that community flourish, I think.
You definitely did. Considering what I know about Robbery Bob and Level 8, one thing that really pops out when you search for Level 8 is how happy the community were for the community management that was happening with the studio. So many quirky videos and so many good praises online, etc. So that's definitely an applaud, to be honest.
Yeah.
I rarely see that today with studios. To date.
Yeah. So we just decided to have a very personal and down-to-earth tone of voice. And as you said, a very like quirky and humoristic touch with our messaging, and that resonated very well with our audience.
That is awesome.
So yeah, and we had so much fun, and I think it shows in the content that we made. So yeah, that was very good years in my opinion. Like the team was fantastic. The Level 8 team, we made mobile games, but we had that passion, at least in the beginning. And the team was amazing. Like I really felt that we can do anything.
Yeah.
And that was, I guess, maybe our downfall in some sense, because we were also very Swedish and had trouble making decisions.
Oh.
And we set our goal really high. We wanted to make like...
It's like perfection with the products you were working on then?
Well, I mean, in some sense, but what we had, so we had two like running series. We had Robbery Bob, that was widely successful for an indie game. And then Robbery Bob 2, which was also very well received. And for games that doesn't... So monetization is the key issue when it comes to mobile games. And I think if you've ever played a mobile game, you know that they monetize very aggressively. And there is a model. There is a model that you have to follow. And if it doesn't, you're going to fall short. And we didn't follow that model with Robbery Bob because it was designed to be a premium game. Both games were designed to be premium. You pay a small fee and then you have the content.
Yep. And that shift kind of happened quite suddenly as well, because all of a sudden we had the free-to-play market that really took over widely.
Yes.
And kind of destroyed the market for premium games.
Yeah. So both games were converted into free-to-play. And that was good. That was very good for business. But the games weren't designed to be free to play. So when you design a game now that you know is going to be free to play, you design the monetization model to match that
at the core.
At the core, exactly. So they didn't perform that
as well when you
because
converted them.
Exactly, but they the funny thing is that we had so many players. So even though that they individually, like, our plays weren't worth that much, I'm doing this with air quotations.
Yeah.
We had so many, so it didn't matter. So the games, the Robbery Bob games, like carried the studio and 15 employees for many years, which is amazing.
It is.
But
definitely.
I mean, I could go on. This is a long story.
But we will return a little bit more to Level 8 later in the episode as well, because one of the first tracks that we're going to listen to today is one of your earlier tracks when you started out as Falconshield, I would guess, as an artist. So let's go dive into that, because we're getting close to that release, I would say, considering that the first track that I found was around 2012.
Right, yes. Okay, so Falconshield is the other kind of career track. And it started at the same time, around 2009, 2010. Because the same with when I was in high school and wanted to create something instead of playing something already created.
Yeah.
When I looked at the game music scene, there was a lot of cover bands and there were a lot of covers, but there were a disturbing lack of original content, and that's what I wanted to do. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna write a few songs. I'm gonna write an album with songs about games, about gaming characters, about gaming aspects of different kinds. And it was very, very, but it was metal. I decided I wanted to do metal, which is funny because I don't really play guitar, but I like metal. I come from metal background, so I guess that's why I wanted to do it. The album was called Gamer Metal, and I think it released in 2010. And it was a flop, of course. Like, it wasn't very good. It really wasn't. But it was lighthearted, it was fun, and I had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
But then Falconshield took like a turn when I started writing songs about League of Legends.
Oh.
Because there was a fan crowd and they were ferocious about the game.
Yes.
And I got a lot of pull from Riot Games too, because they had these community competitions, Songs of the Summoned, it was called. So music competitions for the fan community. And I participated in one of these. It was rock themed. And I came in on second place with the song Hecarim.
Ah, I see. Cool.
And that was when like my YouTube or artist career really took off, I guess.
But considering with Riot Games and League of Legends starting out with that, first and foremost, I need to ask, did you play the game yourself, or are you more a connoisseur of the lore and the world that League of Legends presents?
It's a burning question, isn't it? No, I'm definitely a player. Let me rephrase that. I have been a player. I was playing League of Legends very actively since the beta, since before there were European servers. So I'm OG. I'm an OG League of Legends player for sure. And I played very actively for many years, and I played with my wife, and I played like alone and with friends. But at some point, I stopped playing. Yeah. I haven't played for a while. Like I haven't played.
It kind of becomes too much at some point. I know myself for being a Dota player, so
yeah.
No, but I think that is a great segment where we can actually listen to the first track and dive a little bit more into the work you've done for original League of Legends song content. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. So let's take a little bit of a break while we listen in on the League of Legends song named Why Am I Here?
I was built for you, I offer you support. But when the battle's over, our friendship falls short. I see you watching me with hate. Being outcast is my fate. I live to serve, I do my tasks, but I get no answers when I ask. Oh, why am I here? Am I the only one who's never getting older? Cold, my heart of gold. Can someone tell me why I'm here?
A rolling golem gathers no rust.
And there we fade out the beautiful track, Why Am I Here? And for people that are listening in for the first time at this episode, for each and every song during these episodes, I have a segment called An Emotion. It's basically me sitting down in my chair, leaning backwards, having my headphones on, close my eyes, and just listen to these songs on repeat until I feel something. And then I write these down, and then I basically present it to the guests and see. And we'll basically work it ourselves from there.
Shoot.
This is kind of like the biggest section where the guests love the most, it seems.
Yeah, because like honestly, when it comes to music, the emotional impact that a song could have is the most valuable feedback that you can get. That's the way I see it.
And also trying to hit the mark, because when you're as a composer writing something, you think you're at this emotion, but you actively haven't really heard a lot of people before you actually release the track that you hit the mark.
Yes, exactly.
You can have like some sort of testing group, but that usually can be friends or family, and they can theoretically be a little bit aligned with yourself.
For sure, for sure. There's bias.
Yeah, there is bias, definitely. So My emotion for Why Am I Here? The track is beautiful, and the piano chords reminds me a bit of the modern, and I quote here as well, the air quotes, breakup or a love song chord. An emotional song from the perspective of a robot character, a pure soul questioning their existence or why they may be in the situation they're in. Hearing the lyrics of Why Am I Here? Am I the only one who never getting older? And it gives so much perspective, almost on a philosophical level as well to me when I was listening to this. But overall, I really found this very beautiful. And considering that this is a League of Legends, a MOBA game where all the different characters have their roles and so on, and listening to the text, I must ask, first of all, I've played a little bit of League of Legends, but I don't know all the different characters. But is this some sort of support character that is singing this?
Yes. Yes, you're right. It's about a champion called Blitzcrank.
Blitzcrank, yeah?
As with many characters in League of Legends, you could have several types of roles, but I think Blitzcrank is a very typical support character, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this track was released on July the 18th, 2012. I'm just guessing this was when it was released over on Bandcamp. I'm guessing you didn't have any previous release of the track prior to that, or?
No, I think...
This track specifically?
No, I don't think so. I think it came out on YouTube at the same time. It was released a little bit later on Spotify as part of an album, where I compiled a lot of songs that I had released on YouTube previously.
Okay. And one thing, first and foremost, comes to mind around this track. Of course, it is League of Legends, so it kind of has a framework. And one question that kind of popped out from a friend of mine, the friend is called Josef Poser, and the question they asked was, when it comes to research for making a League of Legends track, is there any focus on any specifics when you work on lyrical work for a track? Does the vibe or does the lore weigh the most when you're making them?
Okay, yeah. Good question. So, as with many things, I didn't want to do what others were doing. So, there were others writing songs about, in the League of Legends community that were making music, but they were, from a lyrical standpoint, writing a lot about their abilities and how they feel to play in the game and how they're gonna mess you up in the game, and things like that. And that doesn't really, that doesn't vibe with me. I can't connect with that. So lore is definitely the most leading inspiration when it comes to writing, for sure, by far.
And considering that lore kind of weighs in the most, this is a MOBA game. You're playing basically the same map over and over again. A different selected set of heroes is always present, and it's 5 versus 5.
Yeah, boring.
When it comes to the lore, boring. But when it comes to the lore part of this, as I remember from before, you usually just had a small section with some sort of background or information about a character. Was there any other way to get more lore for different characters where you can actually work on? Or did you just read the smaller lore sections and then you kind of, this is kind of how I interpret the lore and this is what the character would believe or would sing about?
Yeah, there's been a very significant shift when it comes to that.
Yes.
Because back in the day, at this point, 2012, the lore was completely different too. What League of Legends was in the overarching world was something very different. But yeah, you had a short lore segment that didn't give away too much, and you were left to your imagination to come up with the rest. And that was fine with me.
Yeah.
Nowadays you have short stories and you have videos and cinematics for many characters, and that can help. It could also be not so helpful. But either way, I need some sort of framework to write to.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be very big, but it has to be something.
I was considering another question with the next song, but I think it's kind of portrays together well to take right now is from another listener called Emberonic, and they ask a little bit more about the lore, since today, as we are getting like the upcoming seasons and so on for the series Arcane, we're getting a better framework, we're getting changes in the lore world that they're actually changing and putting the Arcane world into the game itself. So more and more lore is building up and changing over the course of time with League of Legends and even the world of Runeterra.
Yeah.
How much dedication and research goes into making songs today comparing to what you did before?
There's a lot more research needed now because there's a lot more lore to be considered.
Yeah.
And not only that, when there is a lot more canon, you can't
kind of honor that, right?
Yeah, you need to do that, or otherwise people are gonna like react to that and protest.
You will kind of alienate the listener then to some extent.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
So it's become more difficult, and honestly, like if you see my latest set of releases, there aren't a lot of League of Legends songs in there. I'm kind of leaning into other directions more. But League was perfect for me back in the day because I was playing the game actively. There was just enough lore to feel that spark of creativity.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a large following at this point. So I didn't have anything to lose.
Oh, okay.
So I could just do whatever the fuck I wanted, and I did. I really did. And this song, this is actually one of the songs that I can listen back to, and I don't hate it. Because I think it's a pretty song. Like, I would do it differently.
It is.
I would produce and mix it a bit differently, and I would sing it differently, but I think overall it's a nice song. Like pretty good songwriting.
But you dropped a little bit of an information thing for me, considering this track, that you actually have a sequel to it.
Yeah, in some sense, yeah.
Yeah?
So I just found that this angle of a robot or a computer or an AI becoming sentient and just like a child trying to navigate the world and trying to navigate like feelings and relationships and things like that. It's very touching to me in some sense. So yeah, this song is about Blitzcrank, and a couple of years later I made another song called Someone Like Me, where they had introduced another character called Oriana, which is also a robot character, and they were the only two of that kind in this world. So I just had the idea that, maybe this could be a duet, and where they both kind of come from the same perspective in some sense.
That is actually very beautiful.
Yeah, and I made another robot song for Bastion from Overwatch as well. But yeah.
What is it with robots that you like so much then?
I just think it's that, like I said, they're just imagine the curiosity, the innocence in some sense, and trying to fit into a world of flesh beings that has emotions and sensations that you can't really relate to. But like you have this emergent sense of self, feelings, and consciousness, and just trying to navigate that. It's just something touching about it.
One parallel I kind of was thinking about when I was listening to this is considering why am I here and the text that kind of is portrayed in this. It's more like you're saying, like you're pointing out the curiosity and the perspective from a sentient robot with it. And considering today that we're becoming so more and more invested in the internet, and we have the VTubers and so on, we kind of have this kind of shell. Yeah. And I could kind of see this question popping up for me. It's like I'm online, I'm just doing random shenanigans, and I can ask myself, why am I here?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's beautiful on a philosophical level as well.
Yeah.
And is, I would say, kind of timeless.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you for making these songs, man. But I really like it because there is so many things you can kind of you can take to heart in this track, and I don't feel like older tracks are cringe or dumb in any way, because one thing that I come to term with is the thing, like, everybody feels like we always need to present like 100% all the time, and thinking every day like, oh, we really need to do 100%, 100%, 100%, but the 100% that we're doing each day is different. So the 100% you were able to do when you were in 2012 was maybe this.
Yes.
Or maybe this was a day when you recorded was 80%, but was 100% that day.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I have much, like, this is 13 years ago. And I've been doing this pretty much ever since.
Yeah, and quite actively.
Very actively, yes. Which has made me learn a ton. Like, I have learned so much and developed and grown, like, as a musician or producer and engineer. So obviously, when I hear this, like, I got this work-related damage that when I hear music, I don't listen to music the way regular people listen to music. I think I analyze what I hear. Like, subconsciously, I can't not analyze it. like every aspect of the mix is under scrutiny, and that goes for all the music I listen to. But when I listen to my own music, my own older music, that because I made that, like, my name is on that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of connected to me and my performance in some sense. And so that's the cringe. I feel like if I listen to it and hear that, oh, I would have made that so much better today. That even though I couldn't do it, I didn't have the same toolbox. I didn't have the same experience that I have today.
Exactly. So a last question I have before we should segment into the next track as well for today is, considering that a lot of like artists today actually revamp or revisit certain tracks, have you ever returned to revisit and actually kind of remaster, so to speak, a track?
Okay, that's interesting that you ask that question, because I'm actually working on a remake right now. So first and foremost, I did do that once because I mentioned Hecarim. Hecarim was like kind of the liftoff for my YouTube thing. And I made a 10th anniversary edition of Hecarim. Like, I started from scratch and just remade it. But in the end, I didn't, like, it was different, but I didn't really feel that it was better, because I don't really know what it was. Like, it's very multifaceted, but the remake didn't really hit the spot for me, so I got kind of afraid to do that. But I'm going to release a remake of Drown With Me just in a couple of weeks. So Drown With Me was this sea shanty type song that was probably one of my most popular songs. So one night I was at a studio in town, and I had this, I was just hearing Drown With Me in my head, but with metal guitars. And I'm like, oh shit, I should really do that at some point. And then I decided to, let's just do it. So yeah, I've been working on that. So, but those are the two.
Yep. Interesting. It's going to be interesting and fun to listen to. And I should definitely check out and compare the Hecarim original with the 10-year anniversary, just to have a little bit small of a comparison to myself as well, to just listen in on your work.
Sure.
It should be really fun.
It's fun.
But yeah, moving on to the next track of the week. This is also one of those that I'm really looking forward to listening on. Already, of course, listening, but I want everybody else to listen in on the track as well, of course. That's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
So the next track we're going to listen to is another League of Legends song, and the name of the track is Put Out the Flame.
Beside me, just a child, but no one to guide. darkness inside me. Stay away, don't even try me. This mess I can't unscrew it. So scared, but I went through it. Just hope that I won't lose it. If I lose it, if I lose it, gonna get burned and you'll give me the blame. Same old story, I carry the shame, but I can't put out the flame. No, I can't put out the flame. Gonna get burned 'cause I can't be tamed. Good or bad, still carry the shame, and I can't put out the flame. No, I can't put out the flame. Put out the flame, put out the flame. Put out the flame, put out the flame. I am alone when people surround me. Maturity, it never found me. Misunderstood.
And there we had the beautiful track Put Out the Flame, and my emotion for this track, a cozy track with a beautiful voice to accompany the melody. I had a hard time nailing the genre really on this one, but to me it gives off a little bit of emotional blues. But it has like this extra layer to it. Maybe as well could be a genre of metal/rock, but it feels a little bit too cozy to place it in that pocket. I was really lost in the sound and the chorus of this track. The hook of Putting Out the Flame were charming, and the vocalist for this track was just the right feel. When it comes, this is the first track we listened to today where you're accompanied by somebody else. Not accompanied, this is actually only sung by this French singer and illustrator Rina, who is also affiliated with Falcon or Falcon. I don't know exactly how people say it.
Me neither. But yeah.
But it feels like, since they have certain like caps locked letters, it feels like cone. So if Falcon feels like, if it feels like mafia.
Falcone. I don't know.
Falcone, yeah, maybe. Maybe they can write a comment on the episode and say which one is right.
But yeah, I've worked with Rena a few times. She sings on a few of my tracks actually, and yeah, she's great.
And I actually seen that she did a voiceover on the track that you were remaking, Drowned.
Yes. Oh, you
which
saw
was
that too.
also fun as well.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I did.
You do your research well. Yeah.
I do. I'm not gonna just find one thing and then just not dig deeper just to see if there's something like tasty there. It's like when you're opening out like one of those shells. It's like open up the shell and you see the pearl there. You're like, yeah, I want to poke and prod that pearl as well. No, but it's so much fun. So considering that you have a lot of different YouTubers and singers onto your tracks that you've worked with over these years. First and foremost, Put Out the Flame is one of your later releases. I don't know how many exactly songs afterwards, but this was released last year, March 13th. So earlier on 2024.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of people joining in on your tracks. Are these people that you find and you really like, oh, I really would love to work together with these? Or are these people coming to you today? It's like, hey, I would love to be in one of your future songs. Like, how does it work today when you work with people?
Today, well, both. And today, it's much less of the, I really want to work with that person because I have this roster of people that I work with that I know to be reliable. Because like I've collaborated with a lot of people online. And what I've learned about online people is that they're not reliable. Like you can't trust online people.
It's internet. It's that face shell again.
Yeah, internet people are not to be trusted. So I've learned this the hard way many times. So I have this roster of people that I keep coming back to because I know that they will deliver.
Yeah.
They have the quality of voice or talent that I'm looking for. And they will deliver when they say they will. And that is like the alpha and omega of collaboration, in my opinion.
Considering also, do you have a set of release days for your tracks as well? Or because I'm thinking since you don't really have the same kind of pressure, I would say, is that different as well? Or do you have it for yourself? Like, oh, I really want to release like every month a new track or something like that.
Right now, I'm releasing a new song every third week. That's just an arbitrary goal that I set because I'm not working actively on, like, I'm not employed. I'm working like full time on anything. So since I'm freelancing and doing Falconshield stuff, I just try to stay active and write as much as I can. And the cadence of releases is quite important when it comes to social media and stuff like that, which I absolutely deplore, but it is what it is. But it's no problem. I mean, I'm always productive. I'm always writing, and right now it's every third week. But I imagine that it will be less often in a while when I have other things to do. Jobs usually trickle in.
Yeah, I'm guessing they can be like they can pop in like anytime.
Yeah,
and you work a little bit more on contract. But being a freelance and working on contract today, do you have like a minimal set of time you would like to have due to the fact that you have Falconshield and your original work on the side?
How do you mean, like minimal time of what?
Yeah, so for example, like when you started out working professionally, you had 1 week to work on a project,
right.
contract-wise. Like today, when you have a set, because I would say Falconshield is very prominent and good for you. It's like if somebody comes up to you, it's like, hey, we need some help with the game we're working on.
Yeah.
We'll give you a month. Would that be enough for you? It's like, yeah, 1 month. Okay.
Well, I mean, it all depends. Like, it's situational. Okay, you have a month. Okay, well, then I'll tell you, this is what I can do in a month. I can do quite a lot in a month, but I can't do work miracles in a month.
Of course.
So it's like, well, if you have a month, I'll do whatever I can in a month. But it's usually like that.
Yeah. So it's always about the transparency together with the customer then, basically.
Yeah. And I can't stress this enough that when you're collaborating with people online, reliability and communication is everything. I've never missed a deadline in my life because I know a lot of game developers and people who have worked with flaky musicians, and they're a disgrace to the craft. Like, seriously, if you're gonna work with this professionally, then be a fucking professional. Like you do it well, you do it when you say you will, and that's it.
I totally agree on that point. There are a lot of people that kind of say they will do it, but then they kind of push the limits a bit.
Yeah.
And that is not professional, especially if you're not able to contact that information that, oh, this kind of popped up and I need to kind of focus on it. Can I get X amount of time extra? I will definitely do it within this time, but right now this needs to take priority, for example.
Yeah, I hate that. And like, we're going on a tangent now, but I just want to say that it's a problem of 2 levels. It's first being able to evaluate how much time something will take, and it's communicating. So if you can't evaluate how much time your work will take, well, then your predictions are going to be off. And if you don't communicate, then your predictions doesn't matter. So, and if your predictions are wrong, which they could be sometimes you need more times, you run into problems or you run into life, that happens. And that's fine. That's fine. But you have to communicate that clearly.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. No, I think it's an important, even if it was a tangent, I think it was a very important tangent. I always like to kind of be more transparent in when I'm interviewing people, to have that honest kind of talk about these things, because it's not always people like to talk about it. It can feel a little bit taboo, but I think it's just important to be honest, because the more honest we can be with each other, I think it's more valuable information we can extract out of it in the end.
Totally agree. But let's go back to Put Out the Flame, because I just want to say, I'm not sure what genre it is. It's like, I think it's some kind of like Disney pop.
Disney pop. Okay.
It feels a little bit like a Frozen song or something like that. But what I love about this song is that I have real drums in it. It's the first and only song that I have live recorded drums in a Falconshield song.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that was a new experience because I haven't worked that much with live recorded drums. It's a completely different challenge than using plugins. But I loved it. It was great. And it doesn't matter at all to me that the song wasn't a big hit because I am super happy with how it came out. Like, this is one of my favorite songs that I made recently.
But I'm guessing also you got to learn a lot on the process as well. I mean, working with live drums, for example, comparing to like a sample library, for example, like you said.
Yeah, for sure. It's very, very educational. And I love that. I love like pushing myself and learning new things. That's what life's about, man.
So when it comes to put out the flame, like when you start out a new song, for example, especially today, it's like how has your process kind of evolved over the time? Like what's most important today to start with for you?
Oh man. Okay. Big question.
Yeah, I know. I guess it could be different for different songs as well. Like sometimes you come up with a melody and sometimes you just get a lyrical hook that you really want to put into a song.
Yeah, it can depend. It can change. But so what I often do is I collect some inspirational background. Like if it's about a character, for example, I read the lore. And then I try to, like, when I write songs these days, I try to angle it being poetic and human in some sense. I want to capture, like, a human quality or make it a human commentary or just make it relatable, even if you've never played the game. I think that's something that has become much more important to me. So, yeah, I usually... I mean, this was a pretty easy song to write in the sense that I could just sit by the piano and hum and come up with chord structures. And this is the most difficult part for me. Just doing the basic arrangement with the melody and the lyrics at the same time. I'm kind of slowly molding this thing, this piece of clay into something that resembles a song. And it can be a very like slow and painful process. It could take me like, sometimes it's very quick and sometimes it's fast. But I try to think of it chronologically too. So the song starts and immediately I want to be in the emotion, the vibe that I'm trying to reach for, and then kind of let it flow and let it either stay or evolve or just move dynamically. But yeah, I that's the first thing. I shut the door. I try to come up with the melody, the lyrics, and the chord progression and so on until I have like a basic draft, like a sketch. And when I have that and I know what the melody is going to be, then I will send it to whomever is going to sing it. Either I sing it or someone else is. When it comes, when in this case, this is about a girl, Annie. So it felt natural that it would be a girl singing. So I'm going to send it to Reina, and I don't want to like put pressure on her, so I do this as fast as possible, so she has like time to record and in like do it in her time. And during this time, I will either work on another song while I wait for her to deliver, or
no rest for the wicked.
Exactly. Or I will do some developments on the arrangement that I know will have to be done regardless of what her delivery is going to be.
Yeah.
And just to be prepared for when she delivers, then I'm able to complete everything. Yeah. So that's the process. When I have all the assets, so to speak, I can finish the song. And in this case, I needed a lot of different assets. I got her vocals that she needed to record from home.
Yeah.
I went to a studio in town to record the drums with Stefan. Stefan Johansson was the one playing the drums.
Yeah.
And I got guitars from Oscar, who is a friend of mine. And then simultaneously, when I have like all the lyrics and the melody, even when it's my guide, because I record myself singing the guide, and then I'll send it around, and then I'll send it to the video editor, and I get in touch with an artist that can make some original art for the cover and so on. So it's a whole like machinery of a lot of people involved these days.
Yeah. You're a company now.
You know,
no, but there are so many moving parts. Like, it's not just making a song anymore.
No.
Like, you need to have good looks, you need to have hooks and so on. And there is so much going on to something that people feel when they're just looking or listening in on a song. It's just a song, man.
Yeah.
Like, just think about everything that the artists and the composers actually put into this. It's like all the hours.
The funny thing is that my company is a lot smaller now. Like Falconshield used to be like more like a business, and it used to be a band. Like it was me, it was Martin Floberg, who was doing guitars, and he's still doing guitars for me, but occasionally.
Yeah.
And he also did some arrangements and songwriting as well. And I had Anti-Rivet, Kenny, who was writing lyrics for almost all my songs for a few years. And he's also a voice actor, so he was very like pivotal for This Is War and those rap battle things. And I had Lars Hellhammer, who was my video editor, who still does videos for me sometimes. But yeah, now it's me, but I still collaborate with a lot of people.
And I noticed, considering video editing, you actually have some help from company people as well in the beginning, especially when I looked at This Is War series, because you are crediting level 8, for example.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes, that's true. That's true.
But I love how it kind of comes together, just saying that.
Yeah, Rickard Jäger, he is a fucking genius. He was like the lead artist at level 8, but he is not, his strength is not like creating art, like doing concept art or illustrations, but he can manipulate art in the most amazing ways. Like he can... And with After Effects and video editing and Photoshop, he's like genius. So he did the This Is War videos, not one, but he did 2, 3, part 1 and part 2, and he did 4. Yeah, he did those because then he didn't have time for it anymore. But when he started with This Is War 2, he had kind of never used After Effects previously.
Oh,
so he's a learning experience, like, and he was brilliant.
It looks amazing.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if now that you say it was his first time, I could not tell. It looks really good.
Yeah, because when we made that was like, it kind of put the other league creators on death watch, because we raised the bar so high that it was difficult to follow.
But I'm guessing it's also good for you when you see somebody put that effort into making the video for you. It feels like you also wanted to make the music kind of top that as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely.
So it's always helpful to be with creative people. Yeah. It is. Everything just becomes like a powerhouse.
Yeah, you kind of riff off of each other.
Yeah. Definitely. Is there anything else you would like to say a little bit more about Put Out the Flame? Is there something we missed that you wanted to talk about?
I mean, the song's about, like, if you think about it, if you really listen to it, the song is about childhood trauma. And I think that's really what I want to achieve when it comes to writing these days. That even if it's about a character from a video game, it should be relatable. It should be touching on a human level. And yeah, that's it.
Is that an idea just to be able to grasp the listener a little bit more on another level?
I think it's that, but also because, like, I'm a very, like, I'm able to, like, feel for people. What's it called?
You have empathy.
Empathy.
For people?
Like, I'm a very
being an empath.
Yeah, I'm very empathic as a person. So it's much easier to get inspired and find a direction with the writing if I can feel something for what I'm writing. Yeah.
Beautifully put, to be honest. That was, yeah, I felt that. So, with that, I think we're jumping on the last League of Legends song that we're listening to today. And this is kind of where it kind of really took off with Falconshield, if I understand it correctly, and considering the numbers on videos, etc.
Yeah.
So we're going to listen to This Is War. We talked just a little bit, we just tapped a little bit on it. This is the second one, and this has the undertitle of Piltover versus Sound.
Look into my eyes, try to see what I know. A twisted little journey through the path of psycho. A vivid premonition manifesting, undigesting all the petty little trifles taught to adolescents condescending. I'm digressing, a complicated girl with very simple wishes. A global rocket casual people sleeping with the fishes. And when your city comes to desolation, one small step and I reach global incineration. I'm not normal and I don't pretend so. My approach is pretty much a bomb crescendo. Reality is false and it's so, cause I say chaotic demolition, well that's just my forte. Death is a fun way to pass the time though. Several little bullets moving in staccato. The terror of my reign will live on in infamy, singing when they die like a dead man's symphony.
Yo, it's a rat with a flat hat, I'm hip to you house cats. Can't fool me, grab the cheese from the mouse trap. Feel a light breeze when I move past these to your group's back. Pause, have a laugh, throw the venom catch and shoot for the center of mass. Hit the expunge and I blow the stacks. You've been removed by the menace rat. It's Jerry with a Tommy gun, scream for your mommy. Son saw me in the lobby, had your chance, probably should've run. Sewer rat with splinter cell abilities. Shredder of your backline, your team screaming turtle, please strike from the shadows like a ninja on a murder spree. And if I'm feeling blue, what I do is put some shots through the purple team. Brain to your pinky, can see me but your lane's getting stinky. And now I see the wards if you pick me. The plague's back, it's over. I'm killing lame soldiers with spray and pray tactics like the Pope with a super soaker.
You are so poorly designed for this.
In matters much delectable, my brain remains detectable, so very, very confident a battle is...
And there we're fading out quite quickly, I would say. But this is a long song, so this is one of the reasons, and I highly recommend everybody to just listen in on the full song, because it is great. This is War 2, Piltover versus Zaun. And my emotion for this one, as I just said, it is a long song. There's a lot of different characters, more singing about themselves while also roasting others, or maybe the world. For me, who played a little bit of League of Legends that we already established, and mainly have the information about the different characters from that game and a little bit of the world through the Netflix series Arcane. There is a lot of characters I can recall right just through the lyrics that they spit. But the voices choices for each of these characters, they seem very handpicked, and I've not done a full comparison of how the voices are compared in the game versus the series, but then again, the song and the voices, they fit really well. The lyrics, they help draw the character frame a little bit more, but I really like how well the lyrics are well spun. Never really overboard. Songs usually with this kind of versus style, they're usually made to kind of attack each other each and every time while they sing their section, and then an answer comes, and then another attack. But just like This Is War, this is different. When it comes to this track, one of my favorite sections of this song is Kathleen's part. This kind of, what to say, a little bit of captain character. She's in the, if I remember correctly from the Arcane series, she's like the King's Guard, so to speak.
Yeah.
And this section is also written by you and sung by Lunity.
Yeah.
This section was not heard in this episode, so I highly recommend to just check that out. But when it comes to the name here, Piltover versus Zaun, for me, I don't recall the name Zaun, so I kind of want to start over there. Piltover we know from the game, from the series Arcane, but could you just put a little bit of context for me with Zaun?
Okay, so Zaun is definitely a big part of Arcane. Zaun is the underworld.
Ah. Because I only really reacted to the Piltover name over and over again that they talk about.
Yeah. But I think they kind of toned down Zaun in the show. But yeah, man, this is a blast from the past.
What did you think about my emotion for this one then?
Okay, what was your emotion?
So my emotion for this is I really like how everything feels very framed. Like every character, I can see the characters on how the lyrics are placed, because I know a little bit of them through the game and the series, but I don't know each and every one of them. But I could definitely tell some of these characters just by listening to this track.
Yeah. Okay, so I think you put a finger on some points that are really spot on. So when it comes to the characters and the voice selection, that was like something happened when we made This Is War 1. I started working with Anti-Rivet, and he, like I mentioned before, he was pivotal for the This Is War series, because he was not coming from a rap background, he was coming from a voice acting background. So what he did was he took the whole interpreting the character, he took it very differently, and he wrote differently. He didn't write it like a rap. He wrote it like a character presentation in some sense, but he was also very, very cleverly written. As time went on, like he had a very big part of the tone of voice, because he's written tons of verses, even many that he didn't perform, but he performed many as well.
He definitely did. Considering looking through the different This Is War, we can see his name on multiple characters in the same This Is War as well, which is so much fun, and it kind of shows a little bit more register to his vocal actor like branch.
Yeah. So if we talk just about This Is War 2, he wrote Jinx's verse, he wrote and performed Heimerdinger, he wrote and performed Singed, he wrote and performed Mundo, and he wrote Vice, verse as well. And he did a little voice acting cameo of Twitch right before Vice verse. So yeah, his range is crazy, and but
I was really surprised with Heimdinger, for example.
Yeah, I loved it. Like, it was so good.
It is such a special kind of voice.
Yeah, it's like he acted with his voice or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was very important. But when it comes to voices overall, like, we kind of painted ourselves into a corner here because people loved it. Everyone loved that the voices fit the characters. But that was very difficult to do. Like, finding the right voice for the right character and someone that was available, not too expensive, and also someone that could perform that way. That was not easy. So we had to, like, over the course of the whole series, we had to make some compromises. Like, in terms of Badministrator, which was like a pillar of music in the league community. His voice is so iconic, in my opinion, and powerful. I absolutely love it. And he couldn't do a Twitch impersonation. And that's fine. Like, I truly don't care, because it's not about mimicking characters. It's about, like, delivering good music, in my opinion. Like, you have to. It's a different.
I would say it feels like you're trying to get the correct attitude for the character.
Yeah, that's more important than nailing the voice like a voice actor would. Yeah,
because if you would have gotten, like, each and every voice actor that actually made the voices in the game, then theoretically it could have been, the correct voices, but it might not have been suited for the song, for example, because just because you're a voice actor doesn't necessarily mean you're a great singer, for example.
Yeah.
But you do a lot of singing, and you're in this track as well.
Yeah, it's very, very cringe. I hate this part. This is one of my worst performances. I hate it. I hate the writing. I hate the performance. I think it's really weak.
But I still think, because it's what you kind of presented with text and the voice, it's kind of what I expect from the character Jace that you do. Because I always thought that Jace was a little bit up on his high horse and so on, and I kind of had the same feeling when listening to your verse. Yeah. I mean, that was the vibe I was going for, so I guess that makes sense. But considering all the different voices that we hear in this, we haven't really talked about. We named Bad Administrator and Anti-Rivet. We also have Lily Pishu, which is a voice a lot of people usually tend to hear if they're listening to these type of music styles. We have Lunity, Stefanos Rex, and Nikki Taylor TV. And all of these people are from the US. I guess Bad Administrator as well. I didn't find any, like, proven choice on it. But
yeah, he's from the US.
And the track was released back in 2014. So 10-year anniversary? No?
Yeah.
11-year anniversary?
Yeah. Forgot about it.
And it was on the 18th of February. How does it feel to have been working on This Is War series so long? Because this is something that kind of have been following you a little bit more as, I would say, as some sort of series.
Yes. So the last one was This Is War 8, which was released last year or the end of 2023 maybe. And we've made actually it was the end of 2022, so it's been a while now. Yeah, so we made the first one, which was actually a community commission, and it was popular. But 2 was like a huge success. We made it to the first landing page on Reddit, on main Reddit. So it was massive. We got like 600,000 views in the first day. And for a very small channel, it went viral. So we kind of naturally had to try to
kind of replicate the
formula. Yeah. So then we made This Is War 3.1 or part 1, which was a good one. But then we had to make This Is War 3 part 2, which was terrible. We don't talk about that one.
How come you made a part all of a sudden then? Like a part 1 and part 2?
Okay, so there are so many considerations to make. So League of Legends has a lot of characters in it. And
Definitely does.
They belong to all these factions. So when we start planning for This Is War, we think about, well, okay, so which champions are we going to have in it? No matter what we do, we can't fit them all. And if we can't fit them all, someone's going to be pissed. We're going to hear about that in the comment section. Someone's going to be mad. Like, why the fuck didn't you bring Poppy? Well, Twitch doesn't sound like a
battle
rat.
with hundreds of people.
No,
like, what?
But it's just completely unrealistic.
Yes, it definitely is.
To fulfill all these expectations. So the thing with 3 was that there were a lot of Shadow Isles and the Void champions.
Okay.
And we just, with every iteration of This Is War, we've tried to make it better in some sense. So with 3, we tried to, we thought, yeah, okay, we'll just not have as many champions in each one, but we'll make 2. And then we can fit more of them. So that was the thinking behind that.
So the idea was to make them a little bit more bite-sized, but was there any plan to have like closer releases by being able to make them shorter, like less crowded, to have a better release schedule, for example?
I think that was the idea, yeah, but I'm not.
Okay.
I don't remember if we managed to do that because making these takes a lot of time.
A lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But considering that you have so many different, and we're talking about factions and so on, do you usually tend to think a little bit about kind of structure, like who is battling who, for example? If we take a look at This Is War, we have Piltover versus Sound. It's like, what's the structure here? Because I don't know exactly where each and every one is kind of placed. It's like, is it always a Piltover character and then a Sound, Piltover Sound, or?
No, it's not.
Nope.
No. And I think that consideration also has did develop over time.
Okay.
Some This Is Wars were more thought out, like a story arch, while some were more just presenting champions. If we take This Is War 5, for example, this is Wardles, which aren't 2 factions against each other. It's just Yordles, or Bandle City, I guess. And they're not even a faction, they're a race. So that was just presenting Yordles.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one. Like I really like 5. And then 4, that was the collision between these 2 factions inside of Freljord. So there are like civil conflicts within Freljord. 2 sisters, actually 3 sisters. If you listen to the whole thing, then the 3rd faction will come as a surprise at the end, and that was the whole thing that we thought out. And then 6, that was also not 2 factions against each other. That was just Shurima. It's kind of this desert sand kingdom.
Yeah.
And that was also just presenting champions, but they had internal conflicts. Like there are problems within the faction, and they're fighting for, there's a power struggle and so on. So we referenced that, but mostly we were just presenting champions.
It almost feel like you're kind of portraying up a battle, like a roster at the moment. It's like, oh, we're presenting this race, we're presenting this faction, they have their own kind of thing. And then in the next, like, This Is War, they're gonna fight each other.
You know, yeah, we could have done that, but we didn't. But yeah, 7 was also just one faction, Ionia. and we had, but that we played that pretty. We really tried to make like an overarching storyline of some kind, where Zed were fighting Shen. So Zed was first out, Shen was last out, and then in the middle was Akali, and these three individuals represented three different factions that were struggling.
Oh.
And then they had this grand, like they were duking it out in the last verse where they all three were present. And then finally, This Is War 8 was the second version of the first This Is War, actually. So it was a good way of tying it together. Where we went back into Demacia versus Noxus.
Yeah. I kind of like also how you presented the art for that one, because it's not the classical 8, you do the infinite design.
Yeah.
With having it laying down. So it kind of comes back.
Yes. And there's so many references. I mean, we could do an entire episode just talking about This Is War. And I'll invite Anti-Rivet and we'll talk about it.
We should definitely do that. That would be so much fun.
There's so much to talk about, yeah.
Another time, another episode then. We're basically focusing a little bit more on you then again. This is not the end of the episode, so people don't fret. We still have a lot of more songs to cover. But we're focusing more on you as a person, not Falconshield per se.
Right.
I think it's time to just dive into back to focus a little bit more on you by listening on the next track.
Okay.
We'll leave League of Legends for now, for another day.
Now we're going to do a big shift.
Yes, this is the big shift. This is the twist.
This is the twist.
Yeah, this is the twist. So let's listen to the track, which is a main theme, and it is from the unreleased game, Robbery Bob 3. Unreleased main theme from the game Robbery Bob 3. And my emotion for this one, playful and fun track. I got the nostalgia of an old cartoon while listening to this track, and the sentence, "Where does this go?" kind of pops up in my mind. The track feels a little bit jazzy with the finger snaps going on, and overall the track sparks a playfulness that invites you to the game. And what does feel a little bit with the jazziness kind of sells the robbery games so well. Like, there's a lot of games that has this kind of fun, vibey, jazzy style, and games that I'm thinking about are rhythm games such as Rhythm Thief and Beat Sneak Bandit. They're really playful, and I don't know why they get so interesting because of this. Because it's either this, or you get like the really hardcore, like Payday, we're gonna rob and kill everybody. I don't know what does that. So I would love to talk a little bit and throw the ball back and forth a little bit around this.
Imagine playing Payday with this music.
They're clowns, okay? Should work. We're gonna rob some funky little houses. No, but it sells the attitude. I mean, looking at Robbery Bob series, of course, the way he just walks is hilarious. Yeah. It's like he's sneaking, but it feels like he's really overdoing it.
Yeah, he's really sneaking.
Yeah, he's really sneaking. But it's part of the charm. Yeah. It's really part of the charm. No, but when it comes to a game like this, Like, what's the most interesting aspect working on a quirky game like Robbery Bob?
Yeah, okay, so it's funny, like, imagine this. You're developing a game that is about breaking and entering into people's homes and stealing things, and it's for kids. Like, it's targeted towards kids. How do you kind of make this blend into something that is not morally or ethically reprehensible?
Yeah. We're always taught you should not steal.
Exactly. So why does he do it? And why does it feel so fun?
Tell us.
So on paper, it's a very strange premise, but Robbery Bob is a very sweet and innocent character. Imagine it or not. So this music is for what was supposed to be Robbery Bob 3. That was never released. I don't know, it might be released someday, but it probably won't.
Yeah.
But we did a lot of work on it, and it is some of my best work, to be honest. But yeah, so you have to keep it very lighthearted. And we did a lot of character development during development of designing the game and creating the game, where we needed to put more focus on how he's just stumbling into these unfortunate situations where he has to steal because he has a knack for it. He's good at sneaking and stealing, but he doesn't really want to do it.
Yeah.
He's not mean. He's not trying to take things. It just sort of happens. Also, in the end, he always saves the day. That's also the important thing, that even in Robbery Bob 1, and certainly in Robbery Bob 2, they are chapter driven. So you play chapters, and every chapter has like 20 levels or something. And at the end of the chapter, he saves the day. So he's the hero. He's the burglar hero. And it's also funny that you mentioned it sounds like an old cartoon, because we were pushing pretty heavily into that. We did a lot of character development. We wanted to make him more relatable. We wanted him to make more likable. So for 3, there is this video online that I made where we present the new Bob, and he's just like a cartoon character. He looks very likable, and that's the red thread that runs through the entirety of the development and the music and the sound design. So this is a very lighthearted track, and this is like the main theme. And right away when you hear it, I think it just puts a smile on your face.
It did. I was vibing, like the first time I listened to this track, I was already like vibing, going a little bit from side to side. Like I could see myself walking the streets and just walking like Robbery Bob almost.
Yeah, you're just strolling down the street, not a problem in the world. Like,
no.
It's quirky, it's fun, and of course I made a lot of more music for the game. Most of which are just sneak music, slower, more tense, but not in any sense dangerous or bad or something like that. It's always very lighthearted. I think one of the things that I feel most proud of when it comes to the whole audio spectrum of this game, which is just saddens me a bit to say it because most people will never experience it, is that I made this main theme which had this palette of sounds. Like you have the marimbas and you had some drums, a lot of percussion, flute and clarinet and ukulele, maybe. And I had the sound palette, and then I made a huge majority of the sound effects in the game are made from the instruments of the sound palette. So it feels like you're kind of playing the music too. When you're playing the game, you're getting audio reinforcement that is just a natural part of the instrumentation that you're already hearing in the music.
That's really interesting. I don't think a lot of people do that.
No, I don't think so too. And that's difficult to do in like a serious game.
Yes, it is.
But
it is.
But when you do it like this, when you do it like a cartoon, it just felt very natural to do it. And it sounds phenomenal. It's just very cohesive. The entire audio experience is just very coherent. So that was I did some great work there. I'm patting myself on the back, but yeah, too bad.
You definitely should.
Too bad no one's going to experience that.
Yeah. That was just a little bit of background. The franchise was sold back in 2021, so the game is an unreleased title due to that. And we will see if we ever will see this series continue, because it all depends on what Deca does with it, of course. But considering music-wise, when you work with an IP, and how you kind of think about the music. So if we think specifically for this main theme, there are all different ways on how you can kind of composition music and also what to kind of think about. Is there any, considering that you like to work on original music first and foremost, do you ever take any reference materials when working on video game music?
Actually, very rarely. Very rarely for anything. Like, I don't listen to a lot of music, quite honestly. Yeah, I listen to my own music. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of distracting to me. It distracts me from my own ideas.
Interesting. Because I know not a lot, but some people like to listen to other people's work to see, like, is there any way I can kind of become better in a certain way? Oh, they use this in a certain way, which is really interesting. I've never used that one. So it's so much fun that you kind of reflect upon your own tracks, and you're kind of... You have a high criteria on yourself to, I guess, get the feeling like, oh, I can do this better.
Yes. Yeah. I do that.
I would say that's a unique skill. I would say that.
Well, I don't know. I think you've talked to more composers than I have. And you probably have listened to more video game music than I have. It's just, I don't really have much reference when it comes to... So for this soundtrack... I couldn't tell you a single reference. It just sounds like it's just some instruments and scales and notes just sound fun to me. Like if I play, this sounds fun. Like it sounds lighthearted. It's easygoing. And when it comes to the Robbery Bob soundtrack, that was a lot about melodies and scales. I wrote the whole soundtrack in the same key, I think. Throughout the entire game, it was the same key, but it doesn't sound repetitive. That was challenging, though.
Yeah, it feels very challenging not to change any keys and so on to get another kind of soundscape to it.
Yeah, but so the idea is that you should never feel like you're taken out of the vibe that I was trying to build. So sometimes... Like, at least to me, it can get a bit distracting if you're in a menu and then all of a sudden you're in a different key or in a different tempo, everything's different, and like it's so jarring.
Yeah.
So I think distractions is usually bad when it comes to music, and especially bad when it comes to game music, because it shouldn't distract you. It should just enhance the experience that you're having.
Yeah. When you work on a composition for a soundtrack and so on, do you have any kind of like a buzzword or something for the compositions that you're doing? For example, like if you're having the same key and everything, the soundtrack for Robbery Bob, is this a mindset for Robbery Bob, for example? Like, is this his mind we're hearing? Like, this is his state of mind, being this happy walking along, or when he's sneaking around, has this kind of like style.
I just think that it's very important to put the listener in the mood that you intend to put the listener in, and or the player actually.
Yeah.
It's one cohesive experience. The graphics, the controls, the way you think and interact with the game, what you hear, the visual and the audio feedback, and the music. Everything should just come together and not feel distracting or like jarring at any time. Or if it is jarring, then that's the wanted effect.
Yeah. It has intention of being the way it is.
Yes. And I don't really know if I have a buzzword. Like visuals are very important, I think.
So do you usually work with concept art and so on, or do you usually tend to come into a project when it's more solidified, so you can take like active scenes from a game?
Yeah, I've done both, and I find it much easier to come into a project if I have some visuals to work with.
Okay.
If I have lore and visuals, that's even better. Like, it's easier to kind of nail the vibe, the atmosphere, the feeling that you're trying to put the listener in, because it's you have to be very player oriented, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the player's doing, you need to match that with the audio.
I'm guessing that is really hard, but I guess has that kind of become a easier skill for you over the course of time, or is it still very hard?
No, I think
kind of figure out the player's mindset.
I think that's I think that feels pretty natural for me.
Okay.
But yeah, it's become more easy, I think. So I believe when I was working with Robbery Bob, I was able to play the game, which is very beneficial. But I also had, like, on a second monitor, I was just displaying his face. Boom. There's his face. or like some concept art of him sneaking. And that's what I want to capture with this music. And you should never leave that impression. Like, what do I feel like? What's he sending out to me? Like, what kind of energy has he got going? And I think I captured that very well with Bob.
That is awesome. I love the idea of that. And it's so much different when I interview different composers as well, because some are really more structured in the feeling of a game that it gives, not the character. Sometimes it's just about the environment. Like, the character speaks for itself, so we just want to portray the environment. Or sometimes it's just like we want to portray the character, have a motif for the character, for example.
Yeah, it can vary. I mean, depends on the game.
Yeah.
It's always contextual.
Definitely. Definitely. No, but I think since Robbery Bob is an unreleased game as well, I don't think there's much more I can add to it, because I find it more interesting in the last track of this week that we're going to listen to.
Yeah, that's another twist. Let's go.
Yeah. Another twist. It's just twist on twist with this episode. It's crazy.
That's me.
Yeah, so let's listen to the last track of the week. It is also a main menu theme, or a main menu theme.
Yeah.
And the game that this menu theme is played is called Shadow War. The menu theme from Shadow War. My emotion for this one, mysterious and keeps me on my toes. Even though we have a full soundscape in this track, it is still reckoned to me that it is a minimalistic track. The classical saying of less is more. Because I still deem that this is a very beautiful song, similar to tracks such as games as Ender Lilies or Hollow Knight. It has this kind of emotional track to it. The music utilizes what may sound simplistic, but it is complex. The bass vibrato that pops up during this track surely feels like a heartbeat. Yeah. And considering the gameplay that is available on this game, I can tell this is some sort of it is 5 versus 5 kind of gameplay.
Yeah.
Third person, action based. Kind of feels like it's like dungeon based to some extent. It feels like some sort of NPC like characters that I've seen.
Okay.
I haven't fully grasped everything, so I might be wrong on that one.
Nah, it's actually 5v5 PvP like action. Think about it like Overwatch.
Okay.
So it's match based, objective based. Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, Shadow War is a PvP action game that is taking place in the near future. A future that is very dynamic and also very saturated with the idea of AI and the emergence of AI. So the basic premise of the world is pretty much that this rogue AI has emerged and assumed control of the world. But it has like it's exerting a soft control. So people aren't aware that it even exists.
Oh.
So the creator of this AI and selection of powerful companies are kind of in the shadows fighting for dominance and control under while avoiding the all-seeing eye of Morgana, the AI. So it's like this internal struggle for power and dominance, but also in some sense fighting against the AI together. But the AI isn't like aggressive and violent, but it's just kind of dominating. It just controls all the aspects of life, and it has made life much better on the planet. There are no wars, no nations have armies, so everyone fighting, all the armies are privately owned by these companies, and those are the factions in the game that you play as characters under. So it has very complex lore. The lore is very, very deep. It's very deep. And that's because the founders of Patriots Division are writers. It's Roy Blackstone and Roger Stanley. They have written like a small book about the lore and many of the characters, and they have done an incredible job. And
so I'm guessing it's like a handbook. It's like you can just open up. It's like, oh, I need this character.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a lot of information, not publicly available, but internally for development.
Of course. Yeah, and just to have this said for everybody who might be interested while we talk here, this game is still not released, but you can request access to the game over on Steam.
Yeah.
Just to have that said.
Yeah, so we run scheduled playtests every once in a while, and you can check it out at shadowwar.com.
So considering the menu theme now here, it feels a little bit mysterious and keeps me on my toes is the first thing I wrote that kind of came to mind here.
Yeah.
So this is a menu theme. It really brings in the minimalism like I wrote as well. So what was the idea here? Like, this is so much different to Robbery Bob.
Yep. So I think the approach was, like you said, to make it mysterious, sound mysterious. And also, this is an action game, but you shouldn't really, like, it's not arcade style action game. You want to be kind of pulled into or drawn into the world. And this music, what I wanted to do was to set the mood for the world. So yes, it's mysterious. It's a bit dark. It has some hopeful elements to it. But there's also this undertone of like these percussive elements, that there is action, there is threat of violence,
kind of, I would say Dread comes to mind.
Dread, yeah, it could be a touch of Dread too.
Yeah.
So I think the minimalism just fit very well. And I think it usually fits very well for any action game before you actually get into the action, because it can get a little overwhelming. And considering like you're not playing the game yet. You're not seeing any action footage. You are in the menu, you're about to enter the lobby where you will find your teammates, maybe you have your friend list and so on. So you're in a peaceful state yet. And then when you the actual game music is dynamic. So
okay, so it has the layers then, I guess.
Yes. So based on what's happening around you or your actions, it kind of ramps up in intensity.
And I'm guessing the dynamic music that we have is drawn to the different levels you're about to play.
Yes.
So it's environmental dynamic pieces?
Yes, in some sense, yeah.
Yep. Okay. So we don't expect each track depending on which character you pick.
No, that feels very arcadey. And plus, we like our original intent was to have like 40 characters at launch, so very, very ambitious. And to be honest, like the idea is to write concept pieces for every character.
Oh.
And I have written for some of them, but far from everyone. But that's not like really part of the game. That's more like game adjacent, like an OST.
Yeah.
So that's the idea.
And theoretically, I mean, looking at other games in similar fashion, they might have release trailers or info trailers surrounding characters. Maybe that could be a suitable position as well, for example.
Yeah, for sure.
Just to throw ideas.
Yeah, we are using these themes for trailers and teasers and things like that. So I think there are 8 factions. Each faction has its own musical theme. Each character has its own musical theme.
Oh.
So it's a lot of music, and it is that way because Roy and Roger have a lot of faith in me as a composer and wanted to kind of explore what I could do. Given
pushing your limits a little bit,
pushing my limits and see what I could do with the time and resources. So it's been a very fun project to work on. It has really made me explore things that I haven't really done before, and I love that. Like I just.
And when we're talking about things you haven't done before, are we looking into like different kind of genres and so on you haven't really worked with before, or is it more like techniques you haven't utilized?
I think it's hard to find a genre that I haven't worked on before. Honestly.
True.
It's crazy. But no, it's more like techniques. More the overall, I wanted the soundtrack to be like pretty hybrid sounding, a hybrid between orchestral sounding and modern contemporary, like a lot of synths. I took a lot of inspiration from Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, okay.
Which I think has really beautiful soundscapes, these huge droning synths. And I've taken a lot of inspiration from that. I don't know if you could hear it in the song you just heard.
No, I haven't really listened much to Blade Runner OSTs overall.
Yeah.
So I could not make that point myself, sadly.
No, that's fine. But I'm not sure if it's that present in this theme, but some of the themes and overall, that's a big inspiration for this soundtrack.
I hope some of the listeners who might have more connection to the Blade Runner series would be like, yeah, it is straight on point, or maybe it's like, yeah, I can feel it, etc.
It should be like a hint of it at least. But to answer your question more directly, I think it's more about techniques, and I think it's more about synths. I have been working a lot more with synthesizers for this game and exploring just what you can do with just oscillators and filters, and just see what's possible and what I can control, and just I really dove deep into sound design from that point of view, just manipulating wavetables, basically.
Okay. One thing that comes to mind when I listen to this, as I closing down my eyes, I don't really know where it starts and finishes and so on. So at some point I was like, have I listened through everything?
Yeah,
Or
that's intentional. It's supposed to be a loop.
Yeah. So the song is 5 minutes 46 seconds long, and for a main menu, it feels quite long. Is there a reason why it's 5 minutes?
Yeah,
almost 6 minutes long.
Yeah.
Is it because it's used a lot in, for example, in a lobby, for example?
Yeah, exactly. Because so you want to be able to keep the player in the menu for quite some time without their feeling, oh, okay, this is starting to feel repetitive. So I think that's pretty important in any game that isn't just start a new game and get on with the gameplay. But if you're in a game where you have a friends list, where you have a lobby, you might just hang out in the menus for some time or just AFK.
True.
And you don't want to like feel that the music is distracting, because then you're gonna turn it off. So the music is quite dynamic, but there's a slow dynamic shift. And there's clear thematic elements, but it's never too bombastic or abrasive. You're kept in this sort of minimalistic sensation throughout, although it does rise in complexity and dynamic quite a bit.
Okay. Could it be because you have some like personal experience with main menu music due to being a gamer?
I mean, yeah, of course. I just hate
like
it.
You're really tired of the League of Legends lobby music. Let's get it personal.
It's personal. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think I'm gonna reiterate what I said a while back, that distractions are usually bad when it comes to games in any sense, because you should be able to immerse yourself in the experience. Distractions break the immersion. So if you hear like a sudden cut, oh the music looped, then you're distracted. Or I've heard this 1,000 times before and I've only been here like 5 minutes. Then you're distracted. You're annoyed. Something is pulling your attention away from what you're supposed to be doing. And in the menu, you're supposed to be idling or just select what you want to do. Move forward with that. So just keep the listener, keep the player in that state of mind.
Yeah, I totally agree with that statement.
Yeah,
100%. And one thing that I found was really interesting, since I didn't know of this game at all until you just posted the music. It's like, these are my selections. I of course needed to go to the homepage. I also needed to look at what content is already available, etc. And I found this YouTube behind the scenes video of the project, which was super fun to watch through. And we can see your face there as well, talking about the music.
You saw the documentary.
Yeah. And yet again, I highly recommend people to check this out. The making of Shadow War on YouTube. The links and everything that we talk about, of course, will always be in the episode description. So no need to note everything down. Just check the descriptions and you'll find it there. No, but it was so much fun to just get a little bit more of behind the scenes. I don't feel a lot of studios or developers kind of do that in that sense while actively working on a game, talking about it so freely and transparently.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Yeah. we wanted to... I think transparency was a very big keyword, especially because this game, this is very controversial, but this game have blockchain features built into, not like as a paywall or something you're required to interact with at all, but it's a layer on top of the actual game. And I think it's the only way to do that is to be very transparent about it and upfront with how it works and that nothing fishy is going on, you know.
Yeah, but that sounds good.
And I mean, we did a similar we had the same approach with level 8, and that was very successful.
Yeah.
And that's just how I like to operate. I just I like to be clear with my intention and what I'm doing. Yeah.
I'm 100% on that one as well. That's also how I kind of run community management, being transparent in the intentions of what you're doing, or just being like a good friend to the people loving your work, to be honest. So yeah, but I really like this track. I really did. It has this feeling. I can dream myself away listening to this.
Yeah. So something I was thinking about a lot when we're writing this was to have a clear thematic, and it has a very simple but I think strong theme. And this is like the Shadow War theme. Do, 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 do. It's very, very simple, but it's been fleshed out with orchestration and production magic. So this very, very simple line feels powerful.
It does.
And
it does.
that was the idea behind it. Just keep it simple, but make it sound good.
But then is that some sort of motif then that might pop up in other tracks as well, that you can hear this kind of Shadow War going on, being reminded?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the main motif.
Yeah. Sweet. I'm learning things. Like I say always, dude, like, I'm just a happy camper here. So it is so much fun that I can sprout things, because I, like, a couple of years ago, I didn't even know what a motif were.
Yeah. Learning is the best.
It is. No, but I don't know really what I can ask it so on surrounding this, because since this is still in development and so on, I think, is there any questions surrounding this that you feel like, hey, this is something we can talk a little bit about? Or do you feel like, this is the most we could talk about it, we will get more later?
Yeah, I don't know how much I can talk about it, but I wanted to show this song and the Rubbery Bob theme, because I think it, in a very practical way, shows my breadth when it comes to what I can do, like my toolbox.
Yeah, you're with your framework and what you're capable of.
Yeah, and that has been like the thing that I'm the most proud of, I think, when it comes to my whole career, really, that I've worked on so many different things, and I've tried so many different things, that I have learned a lot of, to master many different sounds and genres and styles.
Yeah.
And to challenge myself doing that is always so fun, and feel like, I can do that now. And when you've done a lot of different things enough, then you feel like, okay, well, I kind of understand how most of it works. But of course, there are a lot of genres that I haven't touched yet, and probably never will. But I do love a challenge.
Yeah. No, since I don't have any further questions surrounding this, I think we're closing down a little bit more about the music and everything, and talk a little about you generally again. And one of the things that I usually tend to talk to with composers and artists is the challenges and the achievements they've been doing throughout their career or surrounding a specific soundtrack and so on. But on you, we're focusing a little bit more on your career. So when looking at all the things you've gone through, the troubles, the challenges, and obstacles that you've been going through over the course of all these years, which is the challenge you've been struggling that you remember the most? Like, to become like a life lesson for you. It's like, I remember that challenge. I will never do that again.
Okay, I don't want to work with mobile games anymore.
Yeah.
That is, working as a composer with mobile games was always challenging. It's less challenging from a technical standpoint now, because mobile phones are more capable and powerful.
Yeah.
But it's still like a matter of optimization. Limitations, yes.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But the other thing when it comes to mobile is that the monetization models are so predatory. That's just something I don't want to touch, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I have a tendency of wanting to understand and be involved with design decision making as well, because I kind of get that part too. I've been I've been interested in the design process, the decision making, and I have been doing game design and level design for games, which has made me kind of understand that this is, I think that's actually the most valuable lesson that I've taken with me, that when working with different disciplines, you learn what the other disciplines need and what they can do, and how you can like interact and collaborate in meaningful ways. So I think that's the most valuable thing when working with games and game development. Just being kind of an all-rounder in many ways is so valuable. Yeah.
And on the other end, thinking about an achievement during your career, throw away like when it comes to large amount of views and so on a personal level, which is your greatest achievement throughout your career and why?
Well, I would probably say that Falconshield has been my greatest personal achievement, because I've reached a lot of people. I have gained some notoriety, and I'm able to do pretty much whatever I want to.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. And that's not afforded to a lot of people.
Definitely not.
And it's taken me a long time to get there. But I'm very happy and proud that I'm where I am today.
When did it feel with the Falconshield project? Like, because I'm guessing there's always a lot of struggle to some extent. Like,
always
when did you
struggle.
get to the point where you feel like this was worth it? Was it with the first viral, or did you feel it before that, or did it come afterwards?
I'm not sure that I ever think to myself that was worth it.
Hey, that's all okay.
When it comes to, I think the bigger projects have kind of forced me to make that consideration, because usually I write and produce songs regularly, and I don't really have time to reflect that much on it. But when it comes to the bigger projects, the projects that take like a year to do, or several months, when you are completed and everything's done, it's released, then you either sense, sometimes I felt a sense of pride and accomplishment, and sometimes it's just been, oh, thank God it's over. It's been a mixed bag with these big projects. Definitely. Some have been very challenging and strenuous, and some have been rewarding.
But I'm guessing that points a little bit more towards you being an empath as well. Like you can really think of something outside of the box as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But I think greatest achievement, I think it's just an emergent thing. Like when you view yourself and you take a look at your toolbox and capabilities, and you feel like I can do a lot of things. That's a very good feeling. Like you feel capable. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
But, you
don't like being humbled by yourself, right?
you always struggle with imposter syndrome.
Yes.
I think you'll never get rid of that. But at the same time, I think at some point reaching a state of confidence is... not really sure where I'm going with this.
Yeah. So just gaining the confidence helps a lot and feels like achievement itself, but the achievement kind of moves onward with you all the time.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's kind of the take I'm getting from this.
Yes, I mean, that's a very good way to put it. The achievement always moves with you, because when I look back, because like I said, I don't listen to a lot of music. I listen mostly to my music. And I can only go like a few months or like a year, maybe 2 years back in the future when I'm starting to feel like, okay, well, now I'm not so proud of what I did 2 years ago. So my achievement is like my best work is
They're
always
fading.
yeah. But my best work is always ahead of me. It's like it's my most recent work. That's what I'm most proud of. I'm not proud of like it's very hard to feel pride in what you did 5, 10, 15 years ago. Even though it was great for me back then.
Yeah,
that was the best I could do then.
Exactly.
But I don't know. That's just all the achievements. They move with you. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you haven't done what you did then, you wouldn't be where you are now.
Yeah,
so
that's true. I've become very good at finishing things.
That's good.
I think that's one of the main qualities that I think have been very valuable for me. I get things done.
Yeah.
And even though I look back at them today and think, well, I got it done. It wasn't very good, but I got it done. You learn every time. You learn something every time you finish a project.
Yeah. That is true.
Yeah.
I always think about like, what can I learn? How can I develop myself? Because when you're looking at yourself, you're always this kind of, it's not an empty shell, but it's always an unwritten new page to fill out with your life experience or just an experience itself.
Yeah.
Going on a trip, etc.
Yeah.
And writing music is going on a trip in your mind to some extent, while also exploring, while testing new melodies that might fit with the lyrical work that you're working on.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things always, and yeah. But amazing challenge, amazing achievement, I would say. And
thank you.
For me, considering all the tracks that we listened to today, This Is War was one of those tracks that was the first track that I listened to, and it was through Spotify that, oh, this is Discovery Weekly. So that was kind of my first getting to know you. And then I listened to more and more work over the course of time.
Thank you, Spotify.
Yeah. So it's always fun that you can find these through interest, through just random banana peel glide arounds.
Yeah.
And when you can find something, it can flourish up into something like this, me talking to you on a podcast.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. So with that, I think it's time for us to close down. We've been talking for 2.5 hours now when we're recording this. So just going through everything, it's like if somebody really liked you as a person, maybe they have a studio and so on, like, hey, we would love some Falconshield music in our game. Or somebody who's listening is like, oh, I really like his music. I just want to say thank you. Where can they send those messages?
Okay, so I think the best way to get a hold of me is through my webpage, falconshield.com. That's pretty straightforward. And you can get in touch with me if you want my Falconshield expertise, which is more like writing hype content for your project or for your game, which I have done for other games. Or I could write a soundtrack for your game, like your in-game music. Or sound design. I am freelancing right now, so I'm available. I'm working actively on a game, Mighty Miners, that will hopefully be out this year. But
Sweet.
Yeah, I got some time.
Holding the thumbs on that one.
Yeah, it's so fun. Yeah.
That's the great part, having fun still in development.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, is there anything else you would like to add in this episode before I take over and close this episode down?
Thank you for having me, Christopher.
Thank you for joining in. It's been an honor.
Yeah, it's been very fun.
So yeah, for everybody else who's listening in on this episode, if you like this episode and would like more episodes such as this, you can find other episodes of the Gameable audio over on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and don't forget to also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Feel free to follow and comment on one of our social medias, either search on Facebook or on Instagram. Just search for Gameable Audio and you'll find us there. And if you would like to support my work with the podcast financially, think about becoming a Patreon backer.
Do it.
You get exclusive access to the exclusive podcast Gameable spin-off. It's just me and friends hanging out and talking about video games. And you can also get access to raffles, where we get, if I get any physical or digital giveaways from composers, etc., they will be raffled away right away. And also early access to the episodes. And yeah, the current awesome backers that we do have today is Daniel Onemark, Mike Björkholm, Lars Schenström, Titti Schenström, Kevin Wikström, Sandris Wikström, Mats Elkebab och Tapper Holmqvist, and Alexander Halldén. And links where you can either buy and support Falconshield that we had as a guest for this episode. You'll find all those in the episode description with links to everything. And the next episode theme that we're going to talk about, we're returning again to talk a little bit more about a genre of games, as I'm going to think about kart games. Is this something you're familiar with, Falconshield? I
played a lot of Mario Kart.
Good game, good game. Did you ever play Wacky Wheels by any chance, since you played on PC?
I think I played it a little bit.
Yeah, the kart PC clone of Mario Kart, but with animals, and it was so hilarious.
I did play some other kart game on Nintendo 64. I remember what it was. I didn't actually own a Nintendo 64, so I played it at a friend's place. So I don't remember what it was called, but
I wouldn't hold you against you for not getting an N64. It's the world's shittiest console, in my opinion.
Oh, damn.
No, since I was such a PC enthusiast, when N64 came, it was like, the graphics looks like shit.
yeah.
So I was already like strong against it from.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan.
Yeah. But anyway, next episode that everybody can enjoy is What About Kart Games? And the podcast theme music was, as always, composed by the amazing Thor Myrdal. And with that said, I am your host, Kristoffer Schenström, and this was episode 56 together with Josef Falkensköld, or Falconshield, as people might know him more of online. So yeah, with that said, I want to thank everybody for listening in, hanging out, and listening in on this episode. And see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.